Horse Tales is proudly brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Agriculture. South Carolina, a true leader in the equine industry.
Folks, welcome to today's show. We got a special treat for you, how Horse Tales got started, and here we are, 85 shows later. Horse Tales is being brought to you today by King Street Auction Company, the leading auction company in the Southeast. Dillon Meat Center, featuring Carolina Fresh Poultry Parts. Ride in and see Douglas and Terry Wayne Jackson today. By the South Carolina Agricultural Department. It's a matter of taste. Folks, the PD Cowboy arrives for the brand, and my brand is Carolina Fresh Foods. We have a new product out on the range. So ride on into your local Piggly Wiggly or other fine retailer and ask for Carolina Fresh Premium Leg Quarter. And folks, if they don't have one in the corral, tell them to get cracking and call the old PD Cowboy and his elite posse of chicken wranglers. Carolina Fresh Foods, the name says it all. We are Freshalicious.
There once was a hungry road that wouldn't let drivers get very far. It wore out their tires, forcing them to buy new ones time and time again. Then along came the Michelin Man who proved the right tire changes everything. With long-lasting tires in place, those drivers were back on the road to saving money. Michelin Hydro Edge tires last up to 33,000 miles longer. Michelin, a better way forward.
When you hear the name Earnhardt, you might not immediately think of farming. But my family's been at it for years, just like Nationwide Agribusiness. In fact, they're the #1 farm insurer in the nation. And with their On Your Side Farm Review, you get a personalized policy for your farm with the coverage you need at the right price for you. My family's trusted Nationwide for more than 30 years. To find out why, call your Nationwide Agribusiness agent today.
"2014 is the year of the horse. The South Carolina Department of Agriculture is working to promote your horses and your business. We are working to open new areas for trail use and to let the public know how important horses are. South Carolina has world-class horses and horse people. From race horses to show horses, we have the best. The South Carolina Department of Agriculture, letting people know how important horses are."
Folks, welcome back to the show. I just want to share with you the journey I've been on here with Horse Tales. Folks, when I was just a little boy growing up in Chesterfield County in Pageland, and my mom, I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and I loved Roy Rogers and Trigger and the Lone Ranger, but Mom would go every Saturday to the laundromat to wash our clothes, and I'd go along with her. And next door to the laundromat was a hardware, and back then the hardware had everything. And Mom would say, well, you know, I'll be ready to go in about a half hour, and make sure you be back. And I'd go next door to that hardware. And they had a pretty good tack selection. And I'd go in there, I'd become a regular with the man that owned the store. And I'd go there and sit on the saddles and just dream and smell the leather. And folks, I know you people that love horses, and I do it now. I go out there and love on my horses and just put my arms around them, and just that smell. And back then, I didn't own a horse. I just loved them. And the smell of that leather it just did something to me. And Mom would always say, I just don't know, David. She called me Davy. David, well, where did you get this love for horses? And nobody knew. So I was probably 5 or 6, and then I had a middle brother, Steve, that had a heart as big as South Carolina or Texas, and he was working at the Nicholas Turkey Farm and going to school. And I just loved horses so much that, and folks, this is just a child's dream come true. I come home one day, and I don't know how he did it in one day. He built about a 3-acre pasture and had a 3-acre pasture and a shed and a pony named Charlie there for me. And folks, that began the journey. And to this day, that I can think of my brother and think of that situation, and it's very humbling. I'm an avid outdoorsman. I love to hunt. So I really started looking for a horse to hunt off of. And it took me on a journey down into the low country of South Carolina. bought a horse or two to hunt off of, and I did that. But when I was down there, I heard of a little horse called the Marsh Tacky, and I just kind of blew it off. Some years passed, and fortunately my business went pretty good, and I had some folks contact me about horses, and my involvement with hunting, and this little horse I was riding was the Marsh Tacky. And a movement started to get the Marsh Tacky the state horse. I was a little doubting Thomas on that, folks, and I loved to read, an avid reader, and I really read, and with a lot of other good folks that I knew in the industry, we got involved and made the South Carolina state horse, the Marsh Tacky. And that was one of the greater accomplishments that in my life that I could say other than my family. And but anyway, building on that foundation and just having a personality, and it did a couple of hunting shows, I said, we have such a treasure here in South Carolina, history and hunting and horses. I said, and there was a void there. Folks, I had a dream, but I couldn't be like the Lone Ranger. I had to have a Tonto. And the Tonto in my life was my good friend Richard Perdue. Richard, the children and my children went to school together, and Richard had some TV experience. Actually, we did a show together. So Richard, you want to tell the folks how me and you kind of living a dream?
Well, David, we talked about this show probably for about 4 years.
At least.
Before we could ever get on the same sheet of music and start talking about what we needed to do.
Right.
Your love and passion for horses, you had mentioned that you wanted to do a horse show. And with your hunting experience and being known as a PD Cowboy, we thought that that would probably be a good time to maybe figure out what direction we needed to go in. And after several years of talking about it and hanging out at the lake and having a good time, seriously started making some contacts, and we contacted Billy Huggins, and I've known Billy for, about 30 years now. And Billy's the general manager down at TV15 in Myrtle Beach. So I contacted him, and he gave us a time slot. And I was excited, so then I contacted you, as you remember, and said, David, we can get the ball rolling now. We have a time slot on television, and he's willing to air a show. But the problem is we need to do 6 shows and a pilot in the next couple of months. You remember that?
I can remember it was early July.
Yep.
And they said, and by the way, our time slot is 11 o'clock on Sunday morning, the first Sunday in October. I said, do what?
Yep.
And then Richard, it's really a treat to get you out from behind the camera because you're known as the cameraman now.
Absolutely.
But I can remember our first show and what a trip it was.
Well, David, David, you've always had experience with horses, and you know about horses, and the television aspect of it, you really didn't know everything there was to know. And I've probably been in television a little over 30 years, and I've done hunting and fishing shows and several other different things. So I was always accustomed to when you show up, you're the media, you get treated differently. You have some ins and outs that normal people don't have. So when we went to that first show, is it Whitehaven Plantation?
In Bishopville.
Yeah, when we went to that show.
I remember it vividly.
And I can remember you walking up to talk to the lady that we were going to interview, and she said she just didn't have time. She was real busy. She had some equipment malfunctions and had people waiting, and you just came back, and Blair was standing there, and you said, well, we're going home. I got to go home. I said, no, just calm down, David. I said, we walk over, we're TV. We got to talk to folks. They know we're TV. We're promoting their product. So I go over and start talking to her, and after a few minutes, she calmed down, and then that's when we did our first show. It has been a different experience. I've enjoyed it. I've not thought that much about the differences, but there are differences. I knew nothing about horses other than 4 legs, a head, and a tail. And now that we've went through this journey for 3 years, I've learned so much about the equine business, about the different breeds of horses. And it's kind of like you've said in the past, and folks, I just kind of want you to realize this. Whatever breed of horse that you like, that's your breed of horse. I mean, there's so many, you just can't convince somebody else. Well, you need a Pasofino versus a Marsh Tacky versus, I got in trouble for calling a guy's mule a donkey one time. So, it's the type of horse that you grow up and that you like riding, and I found that to be true.
And folks, we knew we had the good ingredients, like the start of a good chicken bog, but we knew there was something, a little class, a little something to that chicken bog we needed to add. And that's coming up next. Horse Tales is being brought to you today by Morrell Tire Service. Ride on in and see Richard and his fine family of technicians to take care of your automotive needs. by Nationwide. And folks, you know when the PD Cowboy rides, he rides with Nationwide on his side. Ken Law Supermarket, Fayetteville, North Carolina, featuring a full line of Carolina Fresh 3-pack frozen poultry program.
2014 is the year of the horse. The South Carolina Department of Agriculture is working to promote your horses and your business. We are working to open new areas for trail use and to let the public know how important horses are. South Carolina has world-class horses and horse people. From race horses to show horses, we have the best. The South Carolina Department of Agriculture, letting people know how important horses are.
There once was a hungry road that wouldn't let drivers get very far. It wore out their tires, forcing them to buy new ones time and time again. Then along came the Michelin Man who proved the right tire changes everything. With long-lasting tires in place, those drivers were back on the road to saving money. Michelin Hydro Edge tires last up to 33,000 miles longer. Michelin, a better way forward.
Folks, the PD Cowboy rides for the brand, and my brand is Carolina Fresh Foods. We have a new product out on the range, so ride on into your local Piggly Wiggly or other fine retailer and ask for Carolina Fresh Premium Leg Quarter. And folks, if they don't have one in the corral, tell them to get cracking and call the old PD Cowboy and his elite posse of chicken wranglers. Carolina Fresh Foods, the name says it all. We are Freshalicious. Folks, welcome back to the show. We had all the ingredients, but we was missing some eye candy. Folks, as you know, you've been for 85 shows looking at the old cowboy here. And my oldest daughter, Blair, was off in Atlanta going to fashion and design school, and she was dating a fella. And she said she might be wanting to come back home. And I said, well, that might work out. I know she was easy on the eyes and was very good with her speech and everything, and loved horses when she was growing up. And folks, here she is. Well, Blair, what's it been like running along beside the old PD Cowboy?
Oh, challenging. Never a dull moment. Never a dull moment dealing with the PD Cowboy or horse sales. You know, the weather was always a challenge. It was always raining. It was freezing when we filmed, but we got through it. And I haven't been on the show in a long time. I've been kind of busy. I opened up a women's clothing store, got married, and had a baby. So went out with a bang, and here she is.
And folks, this is what Blair's been up to.
This is Gainsley.
This is Gainsley Elizabeth Burdett. Isn't she about the prettiest little cowgirl you ever seen? And folks, one day it might be the PD Cowboy and the PD Cowgirl. And she sees she's getting a little upset, but that's okay. And folks, after Blair left, her Corriente saddle was empty for a while. And we kept doing shows, and Richard said, we got to have some better eye candy. I said, the industry's going more toward women. And I said, we're going to have to do something. And I said, well, I just didn't really know what would fit in, where we were going. But you know, folks, I've told you this many times. Because of the horse, my life has stayed on course. And just not any person would fit. Horse Tales is a family show, if you see each Sunday morning. And me and my wife would sit here each Sunday morning, and she's my biggest critic. She said, now you're doing pretty good, but you need a little help since Blair left. So, you know, I thought about it, and I really didn't pray about it, but as I thought about it. And there wasn't just anybody that I could get. So I thought. And you know, folks, like I say, I've been involved with the Marsh Tackies, and I was humbly saying I was instrumental in making them the state horse. And each year we had the beach races. And the first year we had the beach races, I was practicing out front. And I said, you know, we need to get more press about this. So I called the Farmersman News. I said, hey, we got a race going on down at Hilton Head Island, and y'all need to come out here and cover it. They said, sure, we'll do that. So I think it was a Monday afternoon or a Tuesday afternoon, some folks pulled up and a couple old gals got out of the car and come up there, and we introduced each other, and there's two gals, and I was just trying to pick them out, and both of them looked fairly professional. So one of them started interviewing me, and one of them started taking the pictures. And I noticed one of them was kind of dressed like she was ready to ride, so we did what we needed to do. And I said, well, would you like to ride? And before I could say, would you like to ride, she jumped up in the saddle. And that was Wiley Bell. And folks, I was cleaning my office out the other morning, and I've got the original article from when Wiley was working with the Florence Morning News, and we met. And like I say, once again, to be redundant, because of the horse, my life is staying on course, and Wiley Bell come on board as our co-host. And as you see, folks, she's a lot easier on the eyes. And Wiley, as you know me, I could talk all day, but what it's been like for you riding along with the old cowboy.
Well, David, I was thinking about it. It has been 6 years since I met you, and we have been through a lot, and some of it's been in the swamp, and now some of it's been in front of this camera, which is a place I never thought I'd want to be. And when I met you, obviously, first thing I wanted to do was ride one of your horses, but you talked about a TV show and grandbabies from the day I met you, and now you have both. But I'm glad that I have to say I did actually fight you tooth and nail to be your co-host, because I am not very comfortable in front of the camera, but you have to challenge yourself, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm enjoying bringing all this information to people about horses, and I'm getting to experience things I never thought I'd get to experience. And as you said, I mean, it's all about the horses. And that day that we met over horses, we bonded over horses, and I just thought you were going to put me on a horse and let me ride in your yard. But since then, you got me in a horse race. Let's see, what else have we done?
Well, the horse race, that's been quite a story. We need to get one of these hospitals as a sponsor. That's where you've been in and up.
Yes, sir, and some ambulance services. But yeah, as we know, I got hurt at the last horse race that they had. But and then this last horse race we were at, we weren't racing in it, but I about froze to death. So again, more hospital bills, David.
So Wiley, we've got about 85 shows, and I've got numerous shows I really want to do. I'm not saying one particular one on my bucket list, but I do want to get some good enough sponsors so we can go out west and do some overnight excursions. It's just the materials is unlimited. Do you have a special one you've been dreaming about?
I sure do, David, and that happened after one of the shows that we've recorded for the next season, where I know y'all thought I was miserable because it was cold, it was 40 degrees, and I was in a dress, and I couldn't feel my hands or my feet, but I was happy as could be because I was at a thoroughbred racetrack, and I was watching those thoroughbreds thunder down that track, and my heart was racing, and I didn't feel the cold, I didn't at all, and so I can't wait till Horsetails has been invited to the Kentucky Derby, and I get to be that jockey reporter coming down the track to interview the person that just won the Kentucky Derby. So that's why I know we're headed there, David.
Let's do it. And folks, stay tuned, and you will meet our title sponsor, the South Carolina Department of Agriculture, and Marcia Hewitt, the best equine specialist around. Horsetails is being brought to you today by Carolina Fresh Foods. Folks, we are Fresh Delicious. Equestrian Images, making memories together. By the South Carolina Agricultural Department, it's a matter of taste. Folks, the PD Cowboy arrives for the brand, and my brand is Carolina Fresh Foods. We have a new product out on the range, so ride on into your local Piggly Wiggly or other fine retailer and ask for Carolina Fresh Premium Leg Quarter. And folks, if they don't have one in the corral, tell them to get cracking and call the old PD Cowboy and his elite posse of chicken wranglers. Carolina Fresh Foods, the name says it all. We are Fresh Delicious.
There once was a hungry road that wouldn't let drivers get very far. It wore out their tires, forcing them to buy new ones time and time again. Then along came the Michelin Man, who proved the right tire changes everything. With long-lasting tires in place, those drivers were back on the road to saving money. Michelin Hydro Edge tires last up to 33,000 miles longer. Michelin, a better way forward.
When you hear the name Earnhardt, you might not immediately think of farming. But my family's been at it for years, just like Nationwide Agribusiness. In fact, they're the #1 farm insurer in the nation. And with their On Your Side Farm Review, you get a personalized policy for your farm with the coverage you need at the right price for you. My family's trusted Nationwide for more than 30 years. To find out why, call your Nationwide Agribusiness agent today.
"2014 is the year of the horse. The South Carolina Department of Agriculture is working to promote your horses and your business. We are working to open new areas for trail use and to let the public know how important horses are. South Carolina has world-class horses and horse people. From race horses to show horses, we have the best. The South Carolina Department of Agriculture, letting people know how important horses are."
And folks, TV ain't cheap. It just doesn't happen. You got to have great sponsors. And one of the great sponsors that stepped up is South Carolina Department of Agriculture, Hugh Weathers, and the equine specialist, my good friend, Marsha Hewitt. I'm going to kind of make a little poof at Marsha at one of the last shows we did. I said, folks, if anything's going on in the equine world, South Carolina or beyond, you look up, and here come Marsha and Charlo. So Marsha, you have become a friend, and your knowledge of horses has been very helpful to me. So, Marsha, welcome to the show. And the South Carolina Department of Agriculture has got a lot of good things going on, but we have been preaching how important horses are to our state. So, you want to just tell the folks a little bit how important they are?
Well, they're vitally important, and people don't realize what a huge industry horses are, from the thoroughbred industry with a $20 million payroll, the pleasure horse industry where you go, like we went to Myrtle Beach, there's 1,500 horses there. You go to a trail ride, there's 600. You go to another trail ride, there's 1,200. And these folks are spending enormous amounts of money pumping into the economy, local economy. It spills over into agritourism, which our department is very much into. Our new agritourism director, Jackie Moore, is actively seeking horse farms and horse venues that she can promote on the agritourism sites. Things like Myrtle Beach Heart Association ride with 1,500 horses there from 22 states, all spending money in South Carolina. The Colonial Cup that was recently, the Carolina Cup, the Aiken races, the Charleston Cup, all these thoroughbred races, plus the quarter horse races you have at Ellery, the King Street Trials, you have quarter horse and thoroughbreds. These are all bringing huge amounts of money into the state, into the economy, and there's just so much going on with the horse industry, it's hard to even begin to cover it.
Well, Marsha, like I said, I've been privileged with Horsetails, 85 plus shows, and I'd just like to add, like in Chesterfield County, Brad Turley, Southern Eights Farm. It's just like a little bit of heaven Brad has built there. And people coming out of Monroe and Charlotte, coming in it and buying property in South Carolina, adding to the economy. We slide on into Camden. Gosh, it's been going on forever. We're talking about Williamsburg County back that way, just the with what's going on down there with thoroughbred. People just don't realize it. Slide over to Aiken. You know, it's unreal. I keep saying a lot of times in the show, South Carolina, smiling faces, beautiful places. Yeah. And it's really just catching on. People from up north with the climate, they come down to South Carolina, they see the folks, what we're doing for horses, and it just goes on and on. I think the future for equine in South Carolina, I don't even think we ran at first base, Marsha. What do you think?
Oh, gosh. The future definitely is in South Carolina for horses. The perfect climate. We're midway between New York and Florida. Folks that go down to Florida want to come back. The tourism people call those halfbacks. They went to Florida and they've come halfway back to New York. But horses have brought a lot of people. Aiken is one of the top retirement spots in the country, and horses have a big part to play in that. But I like to tell people, you don't see horses in major cities and by the side of the road. They're in these little rural communities like Hemingway and Kingstree and Ellery and St. Matthews. And of course, Aiken and Camden are known for their horses. But all these other rural areas, that's where people want to live. That's where real horse people want to live. They don't want to live in the city with the neighbor breathing down their neck. They want space to ride, space to enjoy their animals. And these animals are so majestic. I don't know anybody who doesn't look at a horse and get that feeling that there's just something magical about them.
Well, Marcia, what has happened in the beginning, we walk where we want to go, and here comes the horse. Horses have become a luxury, a recreational item. So that's what me and you have really been trying to do to get it to the folks that really need to know how much money, how much it's stimulating the economy. Because a lot of you automotive people and the other people, they're united. But I tell you, me and you are united with the South Carolina Department of Agriculture. And when me and you through, I think somebody said we're going to put a turkey on every table, we're going to put a horse in every pasture. What do you think?
Okay.
Marcia, we just thank you very much for what you've done for the South Carolina and for the Department of Agriculture and the horses of our great state.
Well, I just want to make one comment. I think what wrapped up the deal with you and the Department of Agriculture, when you took Martin Eubanks hog hunting, that sealed the deal. He said, this is the most exciting thing, this is great, this is something people want to know about. And your shows are just getting better and better. We're proud to be associated with them. The Department of Agriculture has fingers in many pies, as you know. But we want to certainly continue to support Horsetails as long as we possibly can.
And folks, there you go. From Horsetails to you, I wish you a very, very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And remember, with this beautiful baby here, Jesus is the reason for the season. Keep your reins low and your hands quiet, and God bless America.
Happy holidays.